December is officially here, and we are doing a rankings debate. There's no way the Brave Stars can be any worse than last year. And is Christopher Sanchez officially an ace? Those names and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics. I'm Dominic Martino, here as always with my partner, Kenny Powers. And welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. Thank you to our everydayers and new listeners for making us your first listen each and every day, and the #1 sports podcast network. Matt and I are longtime fantasy baseball analysts, and between the two of us, there's over 40 years of fantasy baseball knowledge, and we do this podcast to share it with you. Wherever you watch, listen, please be sure to like, subscribe, comment, rate, and review if you like what you hear. It definitely helps us grow the podcast, and we truly appreciate that. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the app today. And all right, Matt and I have not really done a nice little rankings debate yet, here, this off season. I've got my rankings, 50, 60% done. So we're going to base, this little discussion off that. We got some ADP to go off of, which I don't think Matt and I have talked about too much together yet. But Matt, AKA Mr. Kenny Powers, do you have anything to say over there? If you guys are watching on YouTube, you see what I'm talking about. If you're not, you need to go over there and check it out because Matt is absolutely killing it today.
Well, this is what happens when you go to an ugly Christmas pajama party and you full send. And, somebody tells you last night that, you're not going to go and repeat the outfit on the show. And I said, watch me. So check it out. At least check out a reel because this is going to be epic. But, for the show today, we're going to be breaking down a whole bunch of different players and things like that and having a discussion about it. And the first guy we're going to open up with is Mr. Matt Olson of the Atlanta Braves. And, there's a lot of question marks surrounding him. I talked about him a couple days ago and, how I feel about the ADP, how I feel about him as a player. And quite honestly, I feel like he's like the number, I would say 2 or 3 at the position for me, at least in ADP. I mean, not an ADP, at first base, essentially. Matt Olson is coming off the board at, here we go, if this will ever work. It won't.
Sixth first baseman pick 49.
Right. Which is kind of bonkers for me. I think he's honestly much better than what he is. He's been good the last 2 years, and even with the down year last year in a couple stats, he still outperformed a lot of things. Like, you look at it, runs were down, but he still crushed it in home runs with 29 home runs and 98 ribs. Batting average was a little lackluster, but it's okay. He bounced back wholeheartedly this year. And everything we saw under the hood for 24 said that there was going to be positive regression in 25. We saw it come to fruition. 624 at bats, 98 runs, 41 doubles, 2 triples, 29 bombs, 95 ribs, batted 272, absolutely crushed it. Everything under the hood says this is going to be, normal Matt Olson, barreled 14.3% of the time, his normal self, graded hard contact, 53.3% of the time. Those two together usually scream home runs, which I think there's going to be even more positive regression in home runs category because of the quality of contact and the barrel percentage and mixed with the hard hit percentage of over 50%. Even if, the hard hit percentage takes down, as long as the barrel percentage stays within the realm of 12 to 14, he's going to be able to hit 30 to 35 home runs. You're mixing with how often he likes to walk. Last year he walked 10%. This year he walked 12%. Fantastic. And he only strikes out about 24% of the time. So I think, you look at last year's batting average of 247, it was kind of hollow because of how often he walked in comparison to how often he struck out. And it's not like it's some crazy number. And the walking kind of helps says, okay, well, he's working the count. He got kind of unlucky in 24, 25, kind of, got the fruits of his labor. Everything about Matt Olson screamed positive regression. We're seeing it. I think that next year it's just going to be consistency. The Braves, I think, are going to have a bounce back just because Ronald Acuna is back in that lineup for a full year, looking like himself, minus stolen bases, which is a whole nother conversation. You got that team just looking like they're primed to bounce back outside of this next guy, which I'll leave to Dom. So things are looking a-okay for 2026 for Matt Olson, and I think that's why he's probably my number 3 first baseman at the position.
Yeah, man, I'm in sync here with you with Olsen for the way that you broke him down. Maybe not so much exactly on the ranking. I have Matt Olsen as my 5th first baseman. I could see moving
You're
him
crazy.
up to. I think him and Bryce Harper is a great discussion this year. I have them too, but I think Vlad, Alonso, and Kurtz are a strong top 3. You could, like I said, you could argue with me about Olsen over Harper. I'm not going to be mad at that one at all. I think that top 3 is too strong for Matt Olson. He's getting a little bit older. He's going to be 32 this year. I still think he's going to be great. I think, what we've seen the last 2 years is kind of what I'm expecting going forward with Matt Olson, about that 30 home run mark. Could he get it back up over 30? I think for sure, but I'm not something I'm necessarily like saying for 100% he's going to hit, closer to 40 home runs than, the early 30s, which is kind of where I'm going to put him. Even look back at 34 home runs, did have the 39 in 2021, but I think the 54 in 2023 is going to be, the career high for Matt Olson. I don't think he's going to top that again. Batting average career 257 guy. Could creep back down, even if you look at the underlying stuff for last year, was closer to the career mark 257 than the 272. But I still think Olsen's going to be great. I think he's somebody you draft with confidence. He plays 162 games. He has played 162 games each of the last 4 years, so he's a consistency of health. And I think the price is right. You have to take him around pick 50. That's more than fine by me. So Matt Olson, definitely somebody that I think he kind of just gets lumped into this Braves group that underperformed this past season. But, there's no reason for that when he's been fairly consistent the past, 2 years, even if it's not what we necessarily expect from Matt Olson. But let me digress.
I got a question real quick because we're on the topic of first baseman. We're talking about ranking.
Yeah.
Right?
Let's do it.
So you're saying that you're going to pick Nick Kurtz over Matt Olson. Now let's run an exercise. Okay.
Let's go for it.
Nick Kurtz batted 290. Do you think that's sustainable?
I don't think he hits 290. No, I don't think that's sustainable.
Right. He struck out 30% of the time last year, even with the high walk rate of 12%. Right. That is the part that I think is being super overlooked. And I think the ranking is just built around a lot of rookie excitement. And then the difference, I think you're splitting hairs with Bryce Harper, but Bryce Harper just, I feel, is in a tier below Matt Olson. And that's kind of shaky. But I think Nick Kurtz, I think we're overestimating the batting average capability. I think he's more like a 250 to 260 kind of guy, which is the difference between Matt Olson. And also, too, he's still unproven on a team that isn't going to provide a lot of ribbies for him or to drive him in. So I think there's a cap ceiling, which is why I have Matt Olson over Nick Kurtz. Do you really feel the same on that? Like that you're going to still draft him over with the limited ceiling with the team around him?
I definitely understand where you're coming from. And I think Matt Olson's the safer bet, right? I think Matt Olson is just all reliable at this point. 30 home runs, 85 runs, 95 RBIs, a 260 batting average. I think that's 100%. You kind of just know what you're getting. I think when it comes to Kurtz, it's just that.
Also,
go ahead.
ADP of 18.
Oh, I'm not taking him there. I have Kurtz as my 3rd first baseman. And like I said, you could argue with me that I'll put Matt Olson at 4, right? So then it's one spot. I'm not going to argue with you too much on one spot. I think I'd rather take the upside on Kurtz, that Kurtz hits 275 with how many home runs did Kurtz have again last year?
Oh no, he had 30 and like 400 at bats. He was crushing it.
So I
36 actually. I apologize.
I think that Kurtz just the upside of the home runs. I think Kurtz could legit hit 50 home runs next year, and I don't think anyone would be shocked if Kurtz goes 50, 100 plus RBI. This Athletics team is really good. This Athletics team, I think, is going to be a lot better. I think if Lawrence Butler could be, a little bit better than we expected him to be last year. Oh my God, what's the kid that hits for the Jacob Wilson? I was saying the kid that hits for major batting average. Jacob Wilson's good. They got other prospects. The outfielder they called up last year is supposed to be pretty good. I can't remember his name either. I'm in basketball mode, guys. Forgive me, but I know this Athletics team is young. They got a bunch of good players. I think they could be, actually sneaky good this upcoming season. But Matt, I see we've spent a lot of time here. Go ahead, shoot.
I'm gonna end on this. Nick Kurtz had an insane barrel percentage of 18.3, which is absolutely unsustainable. So that with the sophomore slump, that is possibility. It is coming with a brutal risk. But you'll have to find out if Dom has a response for that, and maybe we'll move faster through this list coming up right after this.
And all right, guys, I need to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action other than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of a game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late game push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So listen, I'm going to give you something that is going to help you win that $5 bet. Austin Reeves, man. We're doing Austin Reeves on the Lakers, going points, threes, rebounds, assists, whatever you want to do on Austin Reeves. Right now, the guy's on fire. Luka's been out a little bit. LeBron isn't LeBron anymore. So anything on Austin Reeves, that's what we're doing. So to do that, we're going to head over to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. And guys, before we jump back in, thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to do this for Locked On. It's a pleasure to do this podcast with Matt and for you guys. But real quick, Matt, we'll wrap up the Kurtz Olsen discussion. I'm with you. I think Kurtz is definitely more risky, but I think the upside is higher. The ceiling's higher. I think Matt Olson's going to be that safer bet. But definitely, I would not take Kurtz where his ADP is right now. That is just super risky. Matt, I don't know if you got anything else you want to throw on there before we move on.
No, we're showing. I think we beat this to a pulp. Let's
yes. All right. Let's talk about. We got more Atlanta Braves action coming to you. We got Ozzy Albies, man. Tough year for the kid. He played in 157 games, 603 at bats, had 74 runs, 23 doubles, 16 bombs. 74 RBIs, 14 steals, hit 240, had 55 walks to 94 strikeouts. And Ozzy Albies did all that in his age 28 season. The draft price right now is, almost $3.99. Ozzy Albies coming off the board as the 9th second baseman, pick 160. And I think that's, a bit low. I have Albies as the 7th second baseman in my ranking, so I got him a little bit higher there. I'll pay that price. I'll pay that price for Albies. He's got track record. He's been an all-star 3 times before. I think the power is something he could tap back into a bit. I think he can get back to, probably 20 home runs if he figures things out. He could be like a 20-15 kind of guy. The batting average, he's a career 266 dude, but the last couple of years it's been going in the wrong direction. Hit 240 last year, 251 the year before. If he could get back to 260, that'd be amazing. And just this team, we talked about it with Olsen, if this Braves team could be better with a full year of Acuna, Albies, Riley, play better, the counting stats could look a lot better. I love the capital for a guy like this. So if you don't want to take the Chisholm, Marte, Altuve, Terang, you want to wait a little bit, I think Ozzy Albies is coming at a nice price at, pick 160. And the 9th second baseman, I have him 2 ranks higher. So I like it.
All right. I mean, so here's the deal. When it comes to Ozzy Albies, I've been the truther for like years. Even when, everybody said that 1 year is just absolutely unsustainable. He couldn't do it again. And then he doesn't do it for 2 years in a row. I think from the 2023 season down to now, there's a lot more evidence that support that he's just not the player he was. That 2023 season was just too magical for him to just be as good as we expected. The 9th overall is good price, but I mean, are you really going to get the return? I'd rather wait at this point. Like Bryson Stott, I feel is a better name. I'd rather wait around in than, going and getting Ozzy Albies and being disappointed. There's more upside, I think, for Stott. There's more upside for guys going even later than Stott. Yeah, Matt McLean on that Cincy team who also got Kyle Schwarber the other day, which is crazy news. So those are massive names, and just like the upside there. You got Luis Garcia Jr., Dom's boy from Washington. They also think at this point is coming at a great price. What?
No, I said I'm out. I'm out on Luis Garcia this year. It was a 1-year thing. It was a summer fling.
Wow. Okay. Well, you're a fickle lover. I see how that is. But like ultimately, like I'd rather take the shot on those guys that are going later and guys that are going to perform for me on a daily basis. If I'm going to have a hole, it's because I don't have a high end second baseman. I might as well wait for the low barrel and get the highest ceiling kind of guy. I don't think Ozzy Albies has a ceiling that's going to match these guys' ceilings at this point. And if anything, I just stream the position if it doesn't pan out. But let's move on. Let's talk about Austin Riley. Austin Riley, another Brave, another guy that we're hoping to see a bounce back from. And quite honestly, I think it's possible. Injury has also pretty much plagued him a lot over the last couple of years, and I feel like that's been part of the issue. Hasn't played more than 120 games since 2023, right? Played 110 and 24, 102 last year. The pace for home runs have been significantly down, and how much is that related to bad luck, and how much is that related to injury? Well, the thing is, everything under the hood for Austin Riley specifically last year, where he only finished with 16 home runs in 102 games, I think is just bad luck. He barreled 14.9%, which is quality contact. He mixed that up with 53.4% hard hit percentage, which tells you he should have had a better home run pace than what he was posting. So there's some unluckiness with a little bit more at bats. He probably would have gotten hot towards the end of the season and crushed it before the season ending injury. The only thing I don't like is we're not seeing the batting average upside that we've seen in the past, that we've seen in 2023 and 2022. The strikeout percentage is 25%. He's only walking 7.9%, which is right at league average for walk percentage. That is concerning when he's been a better guy at those positions, at those kind of categories, specifically 23, at least a little bit better. And it scares me a little bit. I don't think we're going to see the 280, but if we see 255, 260 batting average, he is the best person for the job. I think the ranking is good. The ADP is good on him right now. Fifth or sixth third baseman coming up the board. I think that's a right price.
Pick 72 fifth third baseman.
I like that price a lot. That is a guy that not only has a lot of upside and ceiling, but also you're going to get that ROP, which is great. So ultimately, I think Austin Riley is the right price and is being drafted perfectly. So he's probably my target again this year, just based off of that.
Yeah, Matt, great breakdown. I'm not going to add too much, just that, the injuries in 2024, fractured the right hand. There's not much you could do about that. That's not one you're going to really put too much on him. And then he had just the lingering abdominal issue. It started in July. He missed 2 weeks with it. And then he missed about a month with the abdominal issue in August to September. He just basically messed up his whole season last year. So the last 2 years, had a fluke injury in 24 last year, just had something, abdominal issue lingered all year. So I think Riley could definitely get back to the guy he had been in the past, that we had seen from 21 through 23. Great price, and just you have to build it into your team just to know that there's definitely still a little bit of chance that Riley might not be exactly who he is, but I think this is a great price, as Matt said. Matt, I agree with you so much, so I'm not going to do anything else. Matt, you want to sneak in one more?
Nah, let's hit it. We'll be right back after this, where we're going to cover, Devers, and, is that draft price actually good? Because it might not be. And Mookie Betts and what to do with him, because you've heard my side of the story, but you need to hear Dom's coming up right after this. And all right, the World Cup is coming back to North America for the first time since 1994. And with over 48 teams for the first time ever, it's going to be massive. But let's be honest, getting tickets is usually the hardest part, which it's going to be for this. That's why Game Time app is absolutely clutch. Finally giving fans a real advantage when it comes to snagging seats. With Game Time, you can track prices in real time, get real alerts, get right to your seats, and make sure those seats are open for you. Buy tickets the moment they hit the app. It puts power back in the hands of the buyer and makes going to the World Cup realistic instead of impossible. You pull the app, and the layout makes it so simple for you to scroll and match up and compare seat views. It's amazing. Pick a game, tap a section, and have your tickets locked in within minutes. No confusion, no hunting for print, nothing. Take the guesswork out of buying World Cup tickets and every match, concert, or event with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, and again, download the app, make an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for that $20 off swipe tap ticket. Go to Game Time today, and I will promise you this. I've been using it a long time before I even worked for Locked On. It is my favorite ticketing app. I wholeheartedly support it. And all right, so Rafael Devers, a lot of drama with him in 2025. Didn't want to play first. Got traded to the Giants. Still ended up playing first. First off, you gotta laugh at that. But
that is so funny, though.
It's so funny. But here we are. And didn't get any more money either. Rafael Devers, though, is a player that I honestly I don't know how much I buy. He definitely came out with, kind of like a grudge, but also cooled off towards the end of the season anyway. But had great power numbers. For the limited span. He had 35 home runs throughout the 2025 season, 20 with San Francisco Giants. Look good, but the batting average was absolutely in the toilet when he got the San Francisco Giants. What is his upside? What do you think his outlook is going to be for 2026 essentially? And that is the part that I'm still have the jury out on. He's going ahead of guys like Riley. He's going much higher than where I think I feel really comfortable for right now in general, if you really think about it, because he's going off the board at pick 45 overall right now in ADP. And I feel like that's a little bit high. I don't really trust the bat. What I saw at the beginning of the season with Boston really wasn't selling it for me. Then you see the batting average dip, which, new year, new team kind of type deal still applies mid-season, but still, I'm not really thrilled on it, and I don't think that he is this player, especially going to the bigger ballpark. I think the power is kind of more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? More of hollow than we actually are expecting. I don't think we're going to see 35 home runs. I think it's going to be more like 25 to 27. I think the batting average is probably right where we kind of think it's going to be, 252 to kind of like 262. And the team over there in San Francisco, I don't really like the opportunity to be driven in or to drive guys in. So therefore, I think it's a lower ceiling in general. So therefore, I think the price is inflated because of what we saw when he went to San Francisco minus the batting average. And I just don't think he's going to be the player that he was when he was on the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, Matt, great take on Devers. We're in sync here. There's no discount. There's no discount on him going to a worse team. There's no discount on the numbers being worse. You're basically playing a very similar price to what we did last year, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to fact check myself on that real quick.
I think he was going actually higher last year. I think he was a third-round pick.
Yeah, I don't think it's too far off. If you guys bear with me, I'm going to pull it up. I do have it here. Devers, where were you going last year, my guy? Yeah, he was coming off the board this year, pick 31, and what's it this year? Pick 45. So it's not crazy far off, right? It's like I said, it's not enough of a discount for me personally, where he hit 236 over the 90 games with the Giants, and he had 51 RBIs, and with Boston in 73 games, he had 58 RBIs and at 272. So I don't I don't think it's a great fit for Devers as far for fantasy purposes. But Matt, you broke him down fairly well. I don't want to spend too much more time because we got to get through some pitchers here today. So let's skip this next guy because, like you said, he kind of maybe broke him down a little bit last time. Let's go to let's talk Christopher Sanchez. Let's get into the arms. Matt, I did talk a little bit about Christopher Sanchez without you about 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna kind of just state my case again. I kind of want to hear what you have to say. I think this year is going to be the outlier year, or this past year, 2025 is going to be the outlier year for Christopher Sanchez. I still think he's a good pitcher. I do not think he's an ace. You see the 2.50 ERA. I don't believe it. I think it's going to be closer to, a mid threes ERA. The over the strikeout per 9. This is the first time that, he's really been a major strikeout guy in his career. Wouldn't be shocked if he went back under the K per 9. And then the whip, once again, a career mark in the whip at 106. He's a career 116 whip guy. I think that's another. I think we just see him regress back to the mean. I just don't think he has a top 10 pitcher in him. And I think he's even going higher than that right now, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was the 7th starting pitcher.
He's the 9th.
Yeah. He's just going way too high.
No, you're right. 7th. I apologize. You're right.
Yeah, that's even if you're including Ohtani in that. Who he's going more as a pitcher. So SP6 for Christopher Sanchez. I can't do it. I have him at SP12, and that's just more out of the respect that he had such a good year this past year. But I just think everything regresses back towards the mean of him just being a solid starting pitcher, closer to an SP3 than an SP1. I literally think just everything that went right for him, could go right for him, went right for him last year. Just not a huge fan of Christopher Sanchez as an ace.
If I'm going to be honest, 12 is like the perfect ranking. So there's a guy that's being completely overlooked that isn't on the show, and I did talk about this the other day, and it is what it is. Logan Gilbert, I think, is a guy that's being severely overlooked. He made strides, and I'll tap into a little bit. He went well over a K per inning, something that like we were waiting for, and like 40 Ks per inning over. So like that's something Christopher Sanchez just isn't in his game. Yes, he went a little bit over, air quotes, but that's just not going to be him. He's a phenomenal pitcher, but he's going to be more of a number 12, and that's really where I trust him. He can be my SP1, but he's going to be the 12th one off the board for me. He's not going to be the 6th. He's just not that guy until he proves what like Logan Gilbert did with Chris Sale, with a couple other guys that are surprisingly going behind him. It just like, even Hunter Green. Hunter Green should be going ahead of him. It's just these are things that like we're overlooking.
Fully agree. And I just want to say one more thing.
Mm-hmm.
He leads with his sinker, and he throws it 46% of the time. Batters hit 270 against it last year. If his changeup is not elite, what he does doesn't work, because then he also throws his slider, which is his only other pitch. He throws it 16% of the time. Batters at 252 against it. So my whole thing is that if that changeup isn't being super effective, it just what Christopher Sanchez it breaks down. It doesn't work.
Well, there's that, and also too, he's really good at producing ground balls, which is part of his success as well. But you also still got to factor in the fact that he does pitch half his games in a smaller park, a good hitter's park, which he has to produce ground balls to be effective in general. But it's a two-sided coin. There's a season where he will have a K per inning, but then also have an ERA of 3.44, still return on a SP1 price, but it's going to be SP12. And you're drafting him way above what his ceiling is, in all honesty. So for me, it's just right now that ranking is way too high. Let's move on. Dom, this is a guy that I think you should be talking about. Sonny Gray. Take it away, sir.
Yeah, let's do it. Sonny Gray goes over to those Boston Red Sox, and listen, he's getting a little bit older. He's going to be 36. Had a 4.28 ERA last year in 32 starts, 180 innings. Did have 201 strikeouts. Had a 1.23 WHIP. The fielding independent pitching was just an ERA indicator, was better than his ERA, which was a 3.39. I think Sonny Gray can be better than he was last year. I think he could be like that mid to high 3s ERA over that K per 9. I think the whip can also go back in a positive direction. Had a really good whip in 2024 and 2023 and 2022. So I'm thinking he can move back towards the right direction. I don't think Sonny Gray is going to be, as dominant as he used to be. But, landing spot's okay, smaller ballpark, but I think the supporting staff there is going to help him win. Win some games, which he wasn't going to do with the Cardinals. I'm trying to see if I can find the draft price on Sonny Gray right now. I'm thinking it's pretty good if I haven't scrolled. Okay, no, he's actually back up a little bit. Pitcher 56, which I'm assuming is around SP like 45, 48, somewhere around there. Pick 137. I have Sonny Gray slotted in, right about there, about SP 47 myself, so right in that range. Think it's a decent price on him. I don't know how much shares I'm personally going to have of him. I like throwing my darts in other areas, but Sonny Gray I think is somebody who will be somewhat decently reliable on a start-to-start basis. I don't think there's going to be too many huge blow-up starts. I just think when they come, they're going to be pretty bad. I think you're going to have like Sonny Gray starts with 7-8 earned runs. But other than that, for the most part, he'll be somewhat decent.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, look, his 4-seam fastball, is getting hit. 376 batting average against it last year, the 25, 333 and 24. We're starting to see a decline. He was always a better pitcher than this. We're just starting to see him starting to take a step back, and that's okay. He's still going to be serviceable, but I think I think the ceiling is more of what we saw in 2024, not in 2025. I think he'll have a high 3s ERA, not a high 4. So still not bad, but also too not a guy I'm gonna want or feel great about walking away with like my SP4. So I'm probably gonna avoid him unless the price comes down to be my SP5, which I don't think is gonna happen. So it is what it is. He has too much namesake to say that. Let's move on though. Actually, we can't. I didn't realize what time it was. Oh, guys, all right. So please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything you can to share this show because we truly love bringing it to you each and every day. And thank you for making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get your local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Also, please make sure to check out the newsletter. And guys, with that, peace